Here's a little feast of something from Channel 4, which I thought might entertain. I've got more for you.
Well, I think getting rid of Suella is a mistake because Suella had become very clearly identified in the public mind as somebody who wanted to deal with the immigration problem and somebody who was tough on law and order. And the government now looks as if it isn't so interested in the immigration problem and isn't so tough on law and order. I therefore think that is an error for a Conservative government.
Overall, though, this feels like a government tacking very firmly to the centre in the sort of Cameroon history. You happy with that?
Well, I think it's very interesting bringing back David Cameron himself, and striking actually, because as you saw him go into Downing Street, David Cameron looks very prime ministerial, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And if I were the Prime Minister, I'd be worried about being overshadowed on the world stage. David Cameron may be the person people want to talk to rather than Prime Minister. So that's an interesting and in some ways a brave move to put somebody in who has been Prime Minister before. And of course in our history, people have gone back to being Prime Minister again.
So it'll make Rishi Sunak the weak, not in control.
I think
who's the real Prime Minister?
Who's the real Prime Minister?
Yes.
I mean, I think David Cameron looks a very strong Prime Ministerial figure in the interviews he's done today. He's very good at the communication side of politics. That was one of his great strengths as Prime Minister.
But you don't like his politics, do you? I mean, are you happy with the political direction of this reshuffle?
Well, I think the political direction of this reshuffle is an error. That if you look at what people voted for in 2019, they voted for a party, actually right the way back to 2010, that would deal with migration and be tough on law and order. That's what Suella was doing, and the Prime Minister sacked her for following government policy. Now, she may have been infelicitous in some of the phrases she used, but that is, I think, the message that people will get.
And do you think it therefore makes it even less likely that the Conservative Party will win the next election?
I haven't spoken to a Conservative Member of Parliament today who is optimistic about our prospects.
You've recently made a speech talking about 30 years of failed government.
Of which 6 years of actually rather good government was by David Cameron.
Well, I mean, not according to Rishi Sunak.
But according to me,
Yeah.
I mean, sorry to be a more loyal Conservative than some others, but I think David Cameron did a good job as Prime Minister by and large. Of course, I didn't agree with him on everything, but I didn't agree with anybody on everything. It's not human nature to. But he gave us the referendum on Europe, he gave the country a choice, he got the deficit under control, he reorganised education, he reorganised welfare. He was actually a pretty good Prime Minister.
This is extraordinary. I thought you were politically very opposed.
No, I
This
didn't.
is not a sort of an old school thing, is it?
No, it's not. No, delighted, of course, to have an Alternatives back in the
Yeah.
cabinet. It was always very remiss not to have one. But, no, I disagreed with David Cameron over Europe, which turned out to be the big issue of our political lives.
And just finally, with your GB News hat on, Esther McVey will have to leave GB News, won't she, as a minister who now attends cabinet?
I assume, yes. I assume that you can't be at GB News or indeed any other broadcaster and be in office.
Yes.
That's the normal form.
Jacob Rees-Mogg, thank you.
It's nice to see Jacob Rees-Mogg being interviewed on Channel 4 rather than posturing on GB News, and it's nice that he acknowledges that Esther McVey, now she's back in the cabinet, will have to desert GB News in order to do her real job. It's a great shame that Jacob Rees-Mogg thinks that his real job is less important than presenting on GB News, but I know which one he does better, and certainly GB News is significantly enhanced by Jacob Rees-Mogg's contribution. Indeed, so much so that I have myself imagined what it would be like if Jacob Rees-Mogg were to break into song. And I thought, I did this a little while ago, and I thought, what would Jacob Rees-Mogg think about Suella Braverman and Suella Braverman's particular tack on Albania. As Rees-Mogg is a well-travelled and intelligent man, I assumed he would be significantly superior in his knowledge of that wonderful country, Albania. He would know significantly more about Albania than Suella Braverman, and indeed, I was proven right. Listen to Jacob Rees-Mogg. Well, indulge me anyway. Here he is, singing about the wonders of Albania.
I'm a country individual, but where there's manifest wrongdoing, I call it out every day. I think back to the dear little town in the shade of a Balkan massif, where the lightning surrounds us, or sunshine astounds us by mountains. Responsively she sits. I love Tirana in the summer with an ice cream next to Dures at the seaside. It's my pipe dream. I have fun in Skodra Castle, Skanderbeg built. What a rascal! I love Barrett, and its gleaming roofs are teeming with the sun. Look, they're grinning at my sing-song. Mud's been slinging, watch it spin. History's winning. Albania's got a new beginning, because Suella's wrong. It's the country of the eagles, the great migration, and the London twits say they're illegal. Insults iterate. Sadly, she thinks she's got effective fate for them awaiting. It's defective. And we're celebrating. Nuk ka gelur.
Asne Jevesenia Ania e Volgel vede Londroi pen Dures. Pese e dua shiperine. Sita spicoi smendorin ga dashoria ime per shiperin. Sepse Suella Braverman erst gabim.
Boats are brimming, but I fear my hair is thinning, because Suella's wrong.
I'm afraid with the passing of Suella Braverman, so many of these little musical interludes are going to be a thing of the past. So I think we have to indulge the opportunity when it presents itself. But I am entertained that Jacob Rees-Mogg approves of Lord Cameron coming back into Parliament, coming back into government. And I am entertained that he recognises that Cameron looks very ministerial, very prime ministerial, and might be a threat to Rishi. I think Rishi is significantly more his own man than Jacob Rees-Mogg gives him credit for. And I think it's a very brave move. Certainly it's a very impressive move. This is by far the more impressive news story today than David Cameron's return to mainstream politics is a significantly more important story than the expulsion of Suella Braverman. But of course, the Suella Braverman story is the one that I personally feel is such a vindication of I think she has done so much damage to our country, to our brand, to the government, to not just to the Conservative Party, but to politics in general, and to the relationship between politics and our society, our broader society, the relationship between communities. She has damaged so much. It's going to take so much reparation.
It's delicious to find a foreign church to prove my virtue. It's not capricious to discover it won't ever hurt you. Elbasan's a mystery to uncover. What you're missing on the Adriatic, almost everybody's kissing. Join my band and sing the virtues of this classic ancient land. As I love Albania, oh why is that my mania? Because Suella,